On this year's APEC summit, which was held last month, protectionism has been one of the key issues discussed at the meeting. APEC's 21 members have urged against protectionism and hardened their will to support free trade. Along with the rising opposition to the U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's protectionism, U.S. President Barack Obama has put utmost efforts to convince the TPP countries until the last moment.
I believe that TPP is a plus for America's economy, America's workers, American jobs. I think not moving forward would undermine our position across the region and our ability to shape the rules of global trade in a way that reflects our interests and our values.
However, the next day, Trump issued a video outlining his policy plans, saying that he will pull the U.S. out of TPP on his first day in office.
These include the following. On trade, I am going to issue our notification of intent to withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a potential disaster for our country. Instead, we will negotiate fair bilateral trade deals that bring jobs and industry back onto American shores. On energy, I will cancel job-killing restrictions on the production of American energy, including shale energy and clean coal, creating many millions of high-paying jobs. That's what we want. That's what we've been waiting for.
Along with the rise of Trump's protectionist view on trade policy, global markets have been plunged into turmoil. China has set up proper measures to cope with a possible collapse of the U.S.-backed TPP trade deal. It has unveiled its plan to boost China-led free trade agreement within the Asia-Pacific region. Neighboring countries have also taken swift actions. Major trading countries in Asia-Pacific region, including Indonesia and Australia, are thinking of joining a China-led free trade agreement if the U.S.-led TPP trade deal collapses. How should Korea deal with the rapidly changing dynamics of the global trade? Upfront discusses the outlook for the trade within the Asia-Pacific region after Washington's withdrawal from the TPP.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has repeatedly vowed to pull the U.S. out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, trade deal after he takes office. And it is expected to bring about significant changes to the global trade as well as to the trading countries surrounding the Asia-Pacific region. On today's Upfront, we discuss the potential reorganization of the global trade and necessary measures for Korea as well. For today's discussion, we have an expert, a discussant in this studio. First, we're joined by Chung Chul, Vice President at the Department of International Trade at Korea Institute for International Economic Policy.
Thank you.
And also Song Soo-young, Professor of Finance at Chung Ang University.
Thank you for inviting
for joining
me.
the program. Thank you. Let's start with the obvious, the mantra that Trump has been kind of preaching during his campaign. In a recent APEC summit, which was concluded in November 20th, it was especially a keen focus whether the Donald Trump's policy of protectionism will be a reality. And the question has been raised. But as if to answer that, there was a video that came out that Trump kind of re-emphasizing his stance on protectionism. How do you see the impact and also the outlook of the protectionism?
During the campaign, Trump said that he is not against free trade. But the thing is that he will try to deal with the trade differently. And he says that the America first and the fair trade to the American businesses. And also he emphasizes the bilateral deals with the tougher negotiation than the multilateral trading system. So I think his focus will be on the job creation and especially in the manufacturing, because the manufacturing base is in the Rust Belt, where he got a lot of support in this election. So I think his focus will be a little bit different from the a little bit of the past world trading system, and it'll be a tougher environment. So that's why people say that it's going to be a protectionism. And there are some things related with the protectionism, like imposing 45% tariff on the Chinese, China's products, and 35% on the Mexican products, and so on. So it will be a tougher environment, but he said, as he said, he is not really against free trade. So I have a little bit of hope on the better free trade.
We'll have to
in the
unpack
future.
the apparent kind of contradiction between focus on the free trade and the protectionism. But do I hear you right that there is a more focus on the domestic issues and domestic focus?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Same question to you, Professor
Yeah.
Song. His
Yeah.
policy on
Primarily,
free trade.
I agree with Dr. Chang's opinion, and but however, as to the who is true shape of the Trump, we don't know yet. But however, at least we are fully aware of his background is a businessman, and also he is willing to adjust his opinion and his idea depending upon the development of the economic and the political situation. Therefore, we do not put much reliance on his claim during the presidential election. However, what is clear right now, at least for the short term, for the time being, at least within 2 years, he's going to focus on the creation of the old-fashioned industry, such as petroleum and steel industry. So those jobs actually require low-level skill, and which is going to supply some job opportunities in the old-fashioned way. Then, to that regard, if he pursues or he maintains the current stance under the Obama administration as to the TPP, then that is going to be definitely contradictory, because TPP requires a little bit higher standard regarding dealing with issues such as environmental issues and some other digital economy. So that's why he has to pull back the United States out of the TPP table. Otherwise, he ends up with some contradictory position. So as a result, then TPP is going to be almost dead. However, then the issue is whether he is going to maintain his current position after even in 2 years. So that is, we are going to see what is going to be a change of adjustment of the U.S. policy, especially in economy and the political situation. So that is what you are going to wait and see would be the best way.
Right. For most of the politicians, there is a little bit of a populism element to it. I think there is maybe a lot of populism element in Trump's situation, and he's already pulling back on some of the campaign pledges that he has made. However, as Professor Song stressed, this domestic policy focus on the manufacturing, essentially, is essential in his support for the Rust Belt and frankly, his victory. So probably it's got to be easy to pull back on that, the promise early. Maybe long term might be different. But what do you think? As Professor Song said, is TPP dead because of that stance?
Yeah, it's we have to see. I mean, I would not say that it's dead. Of course, it's not very promising at this point. But the deal was actually completed, and the agreement was signed in February this year, and it involves the 12 other TPP members. I mean, 11 other members. So maybe it's going. I mean, the TPP is not going to be ratified like the President Obama said that. Actually, they have prepared a lot for the potential lame duck ratification of TPP if Hillary Clinton won, but they gave up on that efforts because Trump had the victory. So for now, I think TPP is not very promising, but I would not say it's that because the TPP is actually U.S. driven and U.S. initiative, and U.S. actually wanted to put some U.S. interests in TPP, and especially in the Asia Pacific area, and get the leadership and the dominance in this area, So I think that's actually goes well with the America First. It's for the American interest and American benefit, not for any other country's benefit. So eventually it may come back, and with some kind of branding with the Trump, like the cross FTA initially was completed in Bush administration. Then later, Obama actually did some additional negotiation, and then eventually, ratified it and went into the effect.
Right,
So probably the TPP will be on a hold for the time being, but it may come back. Probably not in the same format or not in the same name even.
Right.
But the TPP text is kind of the state of the art in the trade agreements, and the U.S. wanted to have established this 21st century agreement. It's a kind of the new trade agreement template.
Yes, right.
So I think the text will still be alive and well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the TPP was, you cannot really separate the Obama's policy of pivot to Asia. So there was a kind of comprehensive deal to it. I guess better phrasing would have been whether the TPP would have been meaningful without the involvement of the U.S. And I think that the Prime Minister Abe has said so in so many words that it is not.
I think that is very important. But I agree with Dr. Chung's opinion that TPP would be available in the future, but right now it doesn't give any merit to the United States. That's why the United States may decide to pull out. But however, the reason why the Obama administration pursued the TPP agreement is actually, I think, is a little bit politically driven, and also the U.S. would like to put some stronghold or toehold in the Asian area. That's why, in light of competition against China, United States involved in the TPP. The first, when we look back the history of the TPP, it starts with the 4 countries: Singapore, Brunei, Chile, and what is the other one? Is New Zealand, Trans-Pacific Strategic Economic Partnership. So relatively, it's very small, and a little bit developed countries participate in. Then U.S., with some initial hesitation, U.S. decided to join them, and then Japan and other several a little bit developed countries who has been engaged in some bilateral free trade agreement, but has not been ratified yet. Those countries are decided to participate in TPP because there is not much progress in the bilateral free trade agreement between U.S. and Malaysia and U.S. and Japan. Actually, the negotiation was almost halted. Then Obama administration and the United States would like to make use of the TPP as a multilateral platform. But however, by nature, the multilateral agreement is always going to tend to be a little bit fairer among the member countries. And the most advanced country always should make some kind of sacrifice among the multilateral agreements. Bilateral agreements, relatively the stronger country could have some advantageous position. However, multilateral, to achieve the agreement among them, at least the strong country must concede and must, to achieve the agreement, they have to sacrifice. To that regard, Obama administration are a little bit willing to sacrifice own interest of the United States, but in order to gain some political interest in Asia area. However, from the Trump's and Republican Party's perspective,
Right.
it doesn't matter much. So that's why the Trump and the Republican Party right now in agreement to pull back out the TPP negotiation table, and also it could give them a little bit what kind of posture of pride they have actually repealed the Obama administration's achievement. So politically, it's good for them, Trump and the Republican Party. Economically, even they lose the gain of opportunity, but that could be make up or compensate for some other their gain on the domestic issues.
Right. That raises a serious question of the role of the U.S. in the global order, not only in the economic order, but as a whole, as security included. But let's talk about the impact of that to Korean situation. Arguments has been made that the Korea is the country very much thrived on the bilateral agreements. So some people say that the collapse of the TPP is actually might be an opportunity for Korea. What's your take on that?
I agree with the Professor Song's point, but I would put it a little bit differently. I wouldn't say that the U.S. sacrifice or the advanced countries sacrifice in the multilateral setting. Rather, actually, it's a different kind of the agreement, and every country tries to get the best out of the deal, and the U.S. in the process of the striking a deal and also striking a balance. So it's a matter of the balance. In a bilateral deals, the strong and bigger countries have some kind of advantage in a sense. But still, there should be a balance. Nobody actually forces any country to go on to do this kind of the trade negotiation. It's if you do this kind of the cost benefit analysis, if there's more benefit than cost, then you do it. If not, you don't have to. So I would say that it's a kind of matter of the striking a balance in the deal in a multilateral setting. These days, I think still the WTO with the 164 member countries, it's the first best because the many countries involved, and if we do this kind of the trade liberalization, there's going to be much more benefit out of that.
I see.
But with 164 members, many have the different ideas. It's very difficult to get the consensus out of that. And the way the WTO actually makes a deal, it's a single undertaking and so on. So we see that the landlock of the DDA of the WTO. So this multilateral trading system is not working as effectively as before. That's why the Korea and many other countries have been involved in this bilateral deals.
That's right.
The problem with the bilateral deals is that for example the rules of origin. It's a bilateral deal. For example, Korea-US FTA. It's a exclusive deal between Korea and U.S.
Right.
It's not, U.S. is not giving any kind of preference to the Chinese product. But if Korea imports from China and then just, go through the Korea and then send it to United States and say that this is coming from Korea and we don't have to pay the tariff. That's not the deal. So in order to prevent that kind of unintended, it's kind of free riding. There's the rules of origin saying that you have to prove that this product was made in that particular country, like certain portion of the value added was produced in that particular country. But in bilateral FTAs, each FTA has different rules of origins.
That's right.
That raises the cost of the transaction and trade, so-called the spaghetti ball effect.
Right.
So that's why we're doing a lot of the many bilateral FTAs actually bring some unexpected costs.
Right.
That's why we see this kind of the mega FTAs like TPP, RCEP, and so on, with many countries together, kind of the establishing a regional bloc. And if any product actually was produced in this region, we take that as the product in the TPP region, for example. So that will reduce the cost and prevent this kind of the spaghetti ball effect.
Right.
So that's the kind of the new trend. Now Trump comes in and says that no, bilateral deal is better for the America. And if that goes that trend, eventually that's not good for Korea, because as Professor Song emphasized, in a multilateral setting, Korea can actually get some more advantage or the benefit in terms of the negotiating, the power. So that's the concern. So for now, since Korea is not part of the TPP,
Right.
so we may get some benefit and we have some more time. But eventually, in the long term, that will that may actually increase the trade slowdown.
I see.
Overall.
So probably
that'll be a
it's better to fix the multilateral system. I mean, the WTO way has created so much gridlock that there has been a lot of cries for reforms. I think, as you mentioned, the U.S. pulling out the TPP kind of creates a little bit of vacuum. And on that, as you mentioned, the RCEP, kind of led by the China,
Right.
is poised to fill the hole, or do you think it's an opportunity? Do you think it's an opportunity for China to exert their influence?
During the APEC meeting, which was held in November 20th, then from the message delivered by the Trump, the United States is going to withdraw from the TPP platform. Then the Xi Jinping, the Chinese leader, has announced that China will remain open to the world and free trade will be available with China. So then China's intention is very clear. The country would like to make up the vacuum of the United States. However, as Professor Song Soo-young has mentioned that the RCEP, the regional cooperation or comprehensive economic partnership, actually, RCEP members include India and China and Indonesia. So, and also including the Singapore and the very advanced countries such as South Korea and Japan. So to that regard, RCEP could be regarded as a kind of ceiling in terms of the quality of the standard and the rule and the diversity of the participants within the platform. So to that regard, as Dr. Chung has mentioned, the spaghetti bowl effect must be very severe in RCEP. Why? Because we have very diverse level of the countries who would like to make up some rule for free trade. So it's very hard to achieve that goal. But however, still, it's very attractive to Korea in terms of free trade, and also from the free trade, Korea could get some advantage of the import, and also at least even within the country, India and China and some countries, there are some rich people and the rich consumers. To that regard, we could make some exports also.
I see.
So I would like to suggest that Korea's optimal strategy would be to maintain some dichotomy. I mean, thoroughly independent and separate approach to the RCEP and to some bilateral free trade agreement between U.S. and Korea. Or maybe in the future, maybe we have another such kind of TPP platform. Then that is going to be definitely some among the a little bit advanced countries. So to that regard, that President Obama has addressed that the 21st century trade rule. That is the goal of the TPP. So then we could have our government, I expect the next or the upcoming government will maintain some separate approach to these two.
I see. So bifurcated approaches
yes,
to
that's right.
pursue the bilateral and a multilateral. Speaking of Chinese initiatives, there's another one that actually the APEC has been kind of pushing for it, FTAAP, Free Trade Area of the Asia Pacific. So this is going to be also led, expectations are that led by China. So it seems like China is pushing hard on both the RCEP and also FTAAP. So does it change the kind of landscape in this region about the domain of influence?
APEC has been promoting the free trade all the time. And the FTAP was basically a concept, not a trade agreement at all. It's a free trade area of the Asia Pacific. And this idea was actually came by the APEC, the business group, around the 2006. But nothing really has been happening. It was kind of the ultimate goal to create the free trade area of the Asia Pacific. And then APEC leaders actually approved TPP and RCEP as pathways towards FTA. So the eventual goal of the Asia Pacific area. So FTA actually involves all 21 APEC member economies and try to create that free trade area and trade liberalization and facilitation of both trade and investment. But, when TPP came out first, TPP was, Chinese were, furious about, TPP is kind of the U.S. strategy to contain China. So, and then, TPP was almost, striking a deal in 2014. That's when the China was hosting the APEC meetings. So in their own backyard, TPP deal might be announced. So China wanted to promote FTA as a kind of the reality deal. So in 2014, APEC members talked about how to bring this FTA into a realization of that. So at the end of the 2014 APEC year, the leaders announced that the roadmap, approved the roadmap, the Beijing roadmap to the FTA. And then for the past 2 years, we have been doing the study, the collective strategic study on the FTA, how to, what are the needed ingredients. But, in the APEC meetings, the US was saying that, TPP has 12 APEC members already. If we expand this TPP into 21 APEC members, there will be FTA. So, but China says no. Because here, the big difference between TPP and RCEP, in TPP, US is there. In RCEP, China is there, but not US in RCEP and not China in TPP. The big difference between TPP and RCEP is the level and the quality.
That's right.
TPP aims for the very high standard. RCEP with the 10 ASEAN countries, including the CLM, the Cambodia, Laos, and the Myanmar, the least developed countries, the level cannot be high. The development gap is really high. And also we have India in RCEP as well. So it's very difficult to have very high standard and high level of the trade liberalization in RCEP, realistically. So that's why the US actually sets the standard very high in TPP and try to set the trading rules by themselves, and then try to enforce that to, for example, China. But that's why the China brings this FTA idea, and then the wanted to do it from the scratch, including all 21 members, meaning that the China and US will be there initially to negotiate the free trade deal in the Asia Pacific. So there's the significance, but still there's the differences in the opinions of how to establish this FTAP between the China and U.S. And the debate is still ongoing, and we have to see what will be the next step on the TPP.
Right. We've talked about the TPP and RCEP trade talks. Let's now talk and take a look at the short video footage to learn more about the member states and scales of two different trade deals.
TPP, or Trans-Pacific Partnership, is a multilateral free trade agreement led by the U.S. and Japan, and it is participated by 12 countries, including Canada and Mexico. It is a large trading bloc which takes up about 25% of the world trade. This giant trade pact has been established in order to build a comprehensive free trade area by integrating the economies within the Asia-Pacific region. However, China has been excluded from the TPP trade deal, and it is a calculated effort of the U.S. and Japan to contain China. TPP trade deal was signed in October of last year, after 8 years of negotiations, and it was expected to take effect after going through the remaining process. However, as the President-elect Trump has pledged to withdraw from the TPP countries are now paying attention to the RCEP trade pact as an alternative. RCEP, or Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, is also a mega-regional trade deal led by China. 16 countries, including the ASEAN countries, Korea, China, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and India, have participated in the trade pact in order to remove tariff barriers. If the RCEP trade negotiations conclude, it will be the world's second largest trading bloc, which excludes the U.S. U.S.-backed TPP deal and RCEP, which is led by China. Both trade deals have no great differences in GDP and trade volume. But RCEP has a combined population of 3.5 billion, which is about half of the global population. RCEP trade pact is expected to be the world's largest trading bloc when the TPP collapses. And this is why a lot of countries around the world are now keeping their eyes on the RCEP negotiations.
Let's talk a little bit about Japan-U.S. relationship, which is also a significant factor in this landscape. On November 17th, Japanese Prime Minister Abe made a visit to New York to meet with Trump and had a 90-minute session. Well, nothing significant came out, but I think that symbolically he's putting, highlighting that meeting. But other people are kind of doubtful as to whether it is really a good start between for two countries for a very close relationship. Now, how do you see the relationship unfolding between two countries?
Okay. When TPP was driven by the United States, it was before the Japan joined TPP. In the United States, TPP there was a joke. TPP is an FTA for the United States with Brunei, because the lots of other countries actually U.S. already has FTA with, and those significant countries there. So actually the TPP is sort of the biggest, the part of the TPP is between the U.S. and Japan. It's not bilateral deal, but in a multilateral setting. But the biggest interest for the United States is the trade deal with Japan. And also the same thing is the Japan's the first priority and the most benefit is a market access to the United States.
Right.
So that's why without United States, TPP is meaningless to Japan, in a sense. So I think the Japan is going to try to move this TPP forward with the new administration, but as the Professor Song mentioned earlier, the Trump is going to try to push for the bilateral deal between the United States and Japan. We still have to yet to see whether that's going to be a reality or there's going to be some kind of the revision to the TPP, or I don't know. But there's a high probability because the U.S. and Japan already the discussed about the market access and other things in TPP. So it's kind of a little bit easier than before without having any kind of base.
Groundwork is there.
Yes,
already.
groundwork is there. So I think there's a good possibility of the negotiating bilateral FTA between the United States and Japan if TPP is going to be on a hold for the time being.
I see. How does it affect Korea? How does it impact Korea's strategy towards those countries?
First of all, Korea has not participated in TPP, but maybe we might consider participating in. But however, as long as U.S. is not there, not present at TPP, then we have no reason to participate in the TPP. We already have a bilateral free trade agreement with the United States. So to that regard, then once the free trade agreement between Japan and U.S. and Malaysia and United States, there is not much progress at all right now. But once those free trade agreement was agreed upon between the two countries, then as Dr. Chung has mentioned, the bilateral free trade agreement is a little bit independent of each other. But however, we could rely on, for example, if Japan has some favorable condition than us, it means that we could offer some kind of revision for the free trade agreement between Korea and U.S. But however, currently, the best optimal strategy for Korea as to the free trade agreement between U.S. and Korea would be just to remain until the U.S. would like to make an offer to Korea.
Right.
So it means that we don't have to worry about, or we don't need to concern whether what would be the Trump administration's position as to the economic policy and the free trade agreement. The best way is to wait and see. Because Trump administration is very volatile.
Right.
I mean, in terms of he would willing to make an adjustment as the situation or economic environment has been developed into some different phase. He is willing to adjust that. So, if we move first, then that turns out that is not going to be beneficial to us.
And legally, contract has been signed, so there's
That's right,
no reason to initiate any revision on this. Look, listening to what Trump is saying, he seems to be saying that he's not per se against the free trade. He just wants a better deal, right? TPP he thought was not a good deal, and with the deal with Mexico, or NAFTA was not a good deal in his mind, and the Korean deal was not a good deal in his mind. So probably we can see what happens to Japan, as you mentioned, but also we can see what happens is NAFTA to see the direction of the deal strategy that Trump has. What do you think about the NAFTA deal? He already said, well, we're going to pull out or make a major revision by 200 days. It seems a classic kind of stance that if I don't get a good deal, I'll just walk away. That's what good negotiators or tough negotiators do. So how do you see the outlook on that?
I think Trump is smart. And he said that the renegotiation. But think about it, the NAFTA was signed in 1994. It's been more than 20 years.
Right.
It's about time to revise the deal. And that's why the Mexico and Canada came out and welcomed the idea of the discussing the whatever you call it, the renegotiation or revision, probably a major revision, because the trade environment actually has changed already. So there's a need for the revision. Now Trump is trying to put some more pressure on the other countries for the more benefits to the United States, and especially creating jobs. But and he also mentioned that the cross FTA is a job-killing FTA, and they the U.S. government did not do a very good job in negotiating the deal. I don't know. I mean the any kind of revision or renegotiation will how much that will create the jobs. Actually, the jobs are lost, not just because of the trade. Maybe trade might have contributed to a certain degree, maybe, but I don't agree with that. I mean, that's some other people's ideas and opinions. It's more of the technology, the progress of the technology that actually replaces some of the low-skilled workers, and the trade. Actually, I think in our analysis, the trade actually created or supported the jobs in the United States and the Korea.
Trump has been saying that, well, he could potentially even pull out of WTO, and we talked about the problems that WTO has in its mechanisms. But do you think it's realistic? And as Professor Song mentioned, is it going to be good for America or even for the world?
No, definitely.
No. In the long run, no.
Right.
It will be a disaster if that happens to the American businesses, because they will have to deal with the every single country individually without the I mean that's the problem the Brexit brings to the UK. They will have to regain the membership of the WTO. Otherwise, they will not get the benefit of the MFN, the most favored nations clause.
Right.
Which means that they will have to face all the tariffs all of a sudden. How can the U.S. businesses survive in that environment? No. The U.S. is not that much interested in the WTO anymore. It's because there's not much of additional benefit out of the WTO DDA. Because it's very difficult to have some other U.S. interests, like in the services and so on. That's why the TISA, Trade and Services Agreement, is a little bit separately being negotiated among the 30-some countries outside of the WTO.
I see.
In a sense.
I see.
So we have to know that the WTO actually is very beneficial to the U.S. economy. If they get out of the WTO, that will be a disaster to the U.S. economy and the world economy as well.
I think one of the things that highlighted was that the dichotomy between the bilateral deal and multilateral deal. I think that both experts agree that the multilateral deal has more efficiency for the world, but from the kind of a narrow focus that in the early days of the Trump administration, the focus being the domestic industry and coming from, I guess, his strength. The bilateral deal seems like a focus at this point. Now, we have to deal with it. We cannot say that, well, multilateral deal is better, so let's go with that. There's not our position to say, unfortunately. But how does that change our strategy? How do we deal with that kind of dynamics of focusing on the bilateral deal?
Yeah, in the short run, as I told you earlier, that the best way is to wait for the response or the request by the United States. So I think the United States would like to make, if they would like to make a revision, and they would like to come to some Asian area through some economically and politically. Then we wait until they offer some kind of agenda or some kind of stake to be discussed on the table. So because we already have the bilateral trade agreement with the United States, then we have to wait until they bring something to us. Then that is the best way. And I would like to point out that until now, the Trump administration and the Trump has not pointed out the transatlantic investment partnership or something like some free trade agreement between the U.S. and the European countries. So it's easier for the U.S. to set up standards and to facilitate some free trade between those areas. So that's why he has not mentioned yet. But later on, he is going to make some deal and make some kind of revision or between the. So he would like to extend the free trade agreement over the NAFTA to the transatlantic area. So then, when that is, if the United States would like to make a deal with for the transatlantic investment partnership, then later on, then definitely United States will come back to Asia Pacific area as long as China has expanded or their influence on the Asia Pacific area. So as I told you earlier, the best way is just totally independent and separate approach to the U.S. economic relationship and the Asia relationship with in terms of economic relationship. So dichotomy would be better.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. So far, we've talked a lot about TPP, RCEP, and FTA, and that's, I guess, natural because Korea is an export-oriented nation, and we have had pretty good success on it. But as a lot of people kind of cry these days, isn't it the time to develop domestic industry to counter, kind of as a hedging matter, about the fluctuating global economy and political situation? It's long overdue, they say. What's your take on that?
Yes, I hear that as well. Because of the heavy reliance on the external economy, that can be a risk because of this volatility of the potential world economy and so on. But as you know, the Korea is not a large enough country. The economic size is big, but the still not as big as like the U.S., China, or Japan. So considering that, I think we still have to promote certain trade to a certain degree. At the same time, maybe we need to promote the domestic industries as well. Including the competitiveness and the productivity of the services sector and so on. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to give up certain portion of the trade and then replace that with the domestic economy. I think we should actually focus both the domestic. I mean, we should find some kind of balance between the external economy and the domestic economy. And the key thing is that the increasing the productivity and doing some reform on this the structure. We continuously need to upgrade our system because the world trade environment and the economic environment is changing so fast. And think about this, the trade. I mean, the traditional trade was only on the goods trade, and the tariff was the most important. These days, the more important thing is the non-tariff barriers than the tariffs.
Right.
And also, the e-commerce and the digital trade, it's increasing, dramatically and so fast. So we need to have some certain rules in the multilateral trading system, and that's why TPP, RCEP or FTA, those things are important because in WTO there are certain the limitation with the 164 countries. So in the Asia Pacific, where the trade front runners are there, we need to have certain kind of deal. So I think that if the U.S. is actually pulling back from the TPP, and still the remaining 11 members are going forward with TPP. I think that's an opportunity for Korea. I mean, join. I mean, even if U.S. is not there, for Korea, because we already have the cross FTA. We can take advantage of that. At the same time, we can take advantage of the new rules set in TPP. That's gonna win it. So I think we will have to use this two tracks kind of dealing with RCEP, and if there's an window open for us in TPP, even if there's no US, I think the US will come back eventually to TPP, whatever it is called later. So I think for Korea, we need to take advantage of any kind of opportunity if it's out there.
I see. It seems like you're suggesting that Korea does have a role
Sure.
as a middle country
Yes.
to kind of negotiate, but also lead in this rough terrain. We're almost out of time. If you have a last word for it.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about the promotion of domestic aggregate demand for to achieve the balance between the domestic economic GDP from the domestic economy and some export and import trade. So actually, we have too much reliance on some trade. So it's better for us to reduce our dependency on the trade, and it's good for us to develop the domestic economy much better. However, we have some population growth rate is declining, and the demand is declining recently. Therefore, as a result, if we expand our free trade, including even North Korea, if possible. So under the peace agreement between North Korea and the US, and if we achieve peace agreement with North Korea, then we could easily expand our economic territory and further increase the total population. So as a result, that would be a really good and very prospect for Korea to increase the domestic demand and also expand our economic territory into.
I see. Today was a pretty fruitful discussion. I think we saw what might happen in the global trade and what we have to do. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Under Donald Trump presidency, the pendulum of trade certainly could swing away from free trade and globalization that have dominated the free trade regime for decades. But how much of his campaign pledges will survive is also questioned as he turned to more conciliatory mode after the election. To meet the challenges of fluctuations in the global trade scene, Korea should develop countermeasures carefully and take this opportunity to develop domestic market and beyond. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.